Most people give their best energy to their job and very little to their own growth. They stay busy, they stay tired, and at the end of the day they wonder why life still feels the same. This message is for anyone who is ready to change that pattern. Your job matters, but it should not become the center of your entire life. You were not made only to meet deadlines, answer messages, and keep other people moving forward. You were also meant to grow, learn, and become stronger in your mind, habits, and character. That kind of growth changes everything. It affects how you think, how you handle pressure, how you make decisions, and how you carry yourself through daily life. In this audiobook, you will hear practical ideas for choosing growth before extra work, building skills every day, protecting your time, and creating a life that feels more balanced and meaningful. Some of these truths may feel uncomfortable at first because they are honest, but they can also be deeply freeing. If you have ever felt stuck between work demands and your own future, stay with this message. What comes next may help you see your life in a clearer and stronger way. Chapter 1. Choose growth activities before accepting extra work responsibilities. Many people begin adulthood with the same promise in their mind. They tell themselves they will work hard and build a stable life. That is a good beginning. Work matters. Responsibility matters. Providing for yourself and the people you care about matters. But somewhere along the way, many people make a quiet mistake. They start giving their best energy to work requests, urgent messages, and other people's plans, while leaving almost nothing for their own growth. They become useful to the job but weak in their own life. They stay busy all day and still feel behind. They help the company move forward while their own mind, health, skills, and character remain almost the same. This is how life can slowly become smaller than it should be. A person can have a full calendar and still have little progress. Personal growth must come before extra work responsibilities because your life is bigger than your job title. Your job is one part of your life. It can support you. It can teach you. It can give you structure, but it should never consume the time you need to become stronger, wiser, calmer, and more capable. If you give every spare moment to work, then you may earn praise from others while losing the chance to build the person you are meant to become. A job can replace you. A title can change. A company can shift direction. But the habits you build and the discipline you carry will remain with you wherever you go. That is why growth must be protected with care. This does not mean you stop caring about your work. It means you stop confusing extra work with a better life. Some tasks are necessary, some requests are reasonable, some seasons are demanding, yet there must be a limit. There must be a clear line where your time for learning, reflection, health, and personal development remains protected. If not, you will keep saying yes to things that help others while your own future gets delayed. A wise person does not only ask what is needed today. A wise person also asks what kind of life is being built over time. That question matters more than any short-term request. There is a peaceful strength in choosing growth first. It is not selfish, it is responsible. When you invest in yourself, you become more stable, more skilled, and more valuable in every part of life. You think more clearly, you respond more calmly, you work with more focus, you make better choices. You become someone who can solve problems instead of only surviving them. Growth makes a person useful in a deeper way. It is not just about being productive. It is about becoming whole. Think about how many people are always available for work, but rarely available for their own development. They answer messages late at night. They give up their morning time. They cancel reading. They skip exercise. They stop planning their future because the day already feels full. Over time, they become mentally tired and emotionally thin. They may still function, but they no longer feel alive in their own life. That is what happens when work becomes the loudest voice and growth becomes a forgotten promise. A life like that can look successful from the outside while feeling empty on the inside. The first step is to understand that growth activities are not extra. They are necessary. Reading a few pages each day is not a luxury. It is a way to keep your mind active and open. Writing down your thoughts is not wasted time. It helps you see what is true. Walking or exercising is not an optional bonus. It gives your body and mind the strength to carry pressure. Learning a skill is not something to do only when life is easy. It is one of the main ways you protect your future. Rest is not laziness when it is used wisely. It is part of being disciplined. Reflection is not weakness. It is how you avoid living on autopilot. These practices are part of a serious life. When extra work comes in, many people react quickly and say yes without thinking. They do it to avoid guilt. They do it to avoid conflict. They do it to be seen as dependable. There is nothing wrong with being dependable, but there is a difference between being dependable and being endlessly available. If you never pause to protect your own growth, then your yes becomes too cheap. Every request pulls you further away from the person you want to become. This is why you need a clear standard. Before you accept extra work, ask a simple question. Will this block the time I need for my development today or this week? If the answer is yes, then you must think carefully before agreeing. This kind of thinking takes discipline because it is easier to follow pressure than principle. Pressure says reply now. Pressure says stay late. Pressure says make yourself useful first and think about your life later. Principle says your growth matters. Principle says a strong future is built by repeated choices. Principle says not every request deserves immediate agreement. Stoic thinking helps here because it teaches calm control. You cannot control every demand that comes your way. You cannot control how busy others are. You cannot control how often people need help. But you can control your response. That is where your power lives. A person who is serious about growth learns to plan the day with intention. Before the workday begins, there should already be time set aside for the things that make life better. Even 20 minutes can matter if used well. Read something useful. Stretch your body. Write your goals. Review one skill. Think about one hard truth you need to face. The point is not to perform a perfect routine. The point is to prove to yourself that your future is important enough to receive attention before the world starts asking for yours. When you begin the day by feeding your own growth, you make a statement. You are not only here to serve the urgent needs of others. You are here to build a life with purpose. Many people believe they will work on themselves after the job gets easier. That day often never comes. Work expands. Requests increase. Responsibilities change shape. Life keeps moving. If you wait for the perfect time to grow, you may wait for years. That is why growth must happen inside real life, not after real life. You do not need a free season to improve. You need a clear mind and a firm decision. The strongest people are not the ones who wait for peace before they act. They are the ones who create steady habits inside a busy life. There is also an important truth here. The more you grow, the better you handle work. When your mind is sharp and your habits are strong, you do not need to overcompensate by saying yes to everything. You become more effective in less time. You stop panicking when tasks appear. You stop proving your worth through exhaustion. You begin to trust your ability. That trust comes from repeated effort. A person who reads regularly thinks differently. A person who exercises regularly carries more energy. A person who reflects regularly makes fewer emotional mistakes. A person who learns new things regularly becomes more adaptable. These are not small improvements. They change the way you live. You should also understand that growth includes protecting your inner life. A job can fill your hours, but it cannot give meaning to your existence. That comes from the quiet work you do on yourself. It comes from learning how to stay patient when life is hard. It comes from telling the truth to yourself, even when it is uncomfortable. It comes from facing weakness without shame and building strength without pride. It comes from choosing order over chaos. It comes from doing what is right even when no one is watching. These are growth activities too. They shape character. They build a person who can stand steady under pressure. If you keep accepting extra work without checking the cost, you may become resentful. At first you will say yes with a good attitude. Then your personal goals start to fade. Then your energy drops. Then your mind feels crowded. then even small requests begin to feel heavy. Resentment grows when a person gives too much of themselves without honoring their own needs. That resentment does not make you better at work. It makes you tired, less patient, and less focused. Protecting growth is one way to protect your peace. It helps you give from strength instead of from depletion. A practical way to live this principle is to create a personal non-negotiable list. This is not a dramatic document. It can be a simple note in your phone or on paper. Write down the growth activities you refuse to trade away too easily. Maybe it is 20 minutes of reading each morning. Maybe it is a walk after lunch. Maybe it is 1 hour a week for learning a new skill. Maybe it is quiet time at night to reflect and plan. Maybe it is a limit on how often you check work messages outside work hours. These small choices create a structure that protects your mind. When extra work appears, you compare the request to your non-negotiables. If the request damages your growth rhythm too often, you say no or you renegotiate. Saying no can feel uncomfortable at first. Many people were raised to believe that a good person always agrees. That belief is not wise. A good person is not someone who gives away all boundaries. A good person is someone who knows what matters and protects it with calm honesty. You do not need anger to set a boundary. You do not need drama. You only need clarity. A simple answer can be enough. You can say you are not available right now. You can say you need to finish a commitment already on your schedule. You can say you can help at another time. This is not rude. It is mature. It is how a disciplined life is built. There is no shame in being careful with your time. Time is not endless. Every hour has a cost. If you spend it on extra tasks that do not matter to your growth, you are paying with your future. That may sound severe because it is true. The life you want will come from what you repeat. If you keep repeating sacrifice without direction, you become exhausted. If you keep repeating growth with discipline, you become stronger. Every day makes a deposit either into your future or into your fatigue. Your task is to be honest about where the deposits are going. One useful habit is to ask yourself each evening whether the day made you stronger. Not busier, stronger. Did you learn something useful? Did you improve your focus? Did you protect your body and mind? Did you do something that future you will thank you for? This question changes your standard. Many people judge the day by how much they completed for others. A better standard is whether your own life moved forward in some real way. Even a small step counts if it is real. A page read, a skill practiced, a journal entry written, a healthy meal chosen, a conversation handled with patience. These moments matter because they shape who you are becoming. Growth also requires courage because it often asks you to face what you have been avoiding. Some people hide in work because work feels clear. It gives immediate feedback. It gives structure. It gives the feeling of being needed. But personal growth can be more honest and more demanding. It may ask you to admit you are out of shape. It may ask you to admit your attention is weak. It may ask you to admit you have no plan for the next 5 years. It may ask you to admit that you have been busy, but not intentional. That honesty can be uncomfortable. Yet discomfort is not your enemy. It is often the sign that truth is near. A stoic person does not run from that truth. A stoic person faces it and responds with action. If your body feels tired, improve your sleep and movement. If your mind feels scattered, reduce distractions and create order. If your confidence is low, keep promises to yourself each day. If your knowledge is limited, read and study. If your emotions are unstable, practice pause and reflection before reacting. If your life feels passive, choose one direction and start. This kind of steady self-command is more powerful than talent alone. It makes you reliable to yourself, and that changes everything. It is also wise to remember that your job may reward urgency, but your life rewards consistency. A company may praise the person who always answers quickly. Life praises the person who keeps growing steadily. That steady growth often happens in quiet places. It happens when nobody is clapping. It happens when you read after a long day instead of drifting into mindless habits. It happens when you choose the hard workout, or the hard conversation, or the hard decision. It happens when you keep studying even if no one notices. Over time, these private choices become public strength. People begin to see that you are grounded. They may not know why, but you will know. You chose growth when it was not easy. The danger of overcommitting to work is not only burnout, it is also identity loss. When a person is always doing tasks for the job, they may forget who they are outside the job. They stop asking what they value. They stop building interests. They stop caring about their thinking. They live as a function rather than as a full human being. Personal growth brings identity back into view. It reminds you that you are more than output. You are a mind that can learn. You are a character that can strengthen. You are a person who can choose. That truth should not be forgotten. So begin with small, firm actions. Guard the first part of your day. Keep one daily growth practice no matter how busy you feel. Do not give away every open hour. Read when others scroll. Reflect when others rush. Walk when others stay still. Learn when others repeat the same patterns. Sleep on time when others stay awake for nothing important. Build one habit and protect it. Then add another. Over time you will see that your life changes not because you were always free, but because you were faithful to your future. There will still be work. There will still be pressure. There will still be days when you have to serve. Respond and adapt. That is part of life. The goal is not to escape responsibility. The goal is to stop letting responsibility consume your identity. A person who grows on purpose can work with strength and still belong to themselves. That is the kind of person who moves through life with calm confidence. That is the kind of person who does not collapse when pressure rises. That is the kind of person who can be trusted with more because they first learned to trust their own discipline. At some point, you must decide what kind of life you are building. Are you building a life where your job takes everything and gives you only enough money to recover and repeat? Or are you building a life where work supports your growth and your growth gives meaning to your work? The second path is better. It is wiser. It is more honest. It asks more of you at first, but it gives more back over time. It creates a person who can think clearly, act steadily, and live with self-respect. Choose growth activities before accepting extra work responsibilities. That choice may seem small in one moment, but it shapes your future in a serious way. It tells your mind that your development matters. It tells your body that your health matters. It tells your spirit that your inner life matters. It tells your future that you are taking it seriously. And once that decision becomes a habit, your life begins to change from the inside out. You stop living by pressure alone. You start living by principle. You become harder to distract, harder to break, and easier to trust. That is how a strong life is built. Not in one dramatic moment, but in many quiet choices that honor growth before extra demands. Chapter 2. Invest daily time. Building skills beyond job requirements. A job can pay your bills and still leave you underdeveloped. That is one of the quiet problems many people live with for years. They learn just enough to stay employed. They do just enough to keep up. They answer what is required. They complete the task in front of them. Then the day ends and they have given all their energy to the role while leaving their own growth untouched. A life built this way can look steady from the outside, but inside it can feel narrow. The truth is simple. Your job may be one part of your life, but your skills are what carry you through every part of it. If you only learn what the job demands, you remain limited by the job. If you keep building skills beyond it, you become larger than your current position. Daily skill building is one of the most practical forms of self-respect. It says that you are not waiting for permission to improve. It says that your future matters enough to deserve time today. It says that you are responsible for becoming more capable. Many people think skill growth must happen in big, dramatic ways. They imagine long courses, major certifications, or perfect schedules. In reality, most growth comes from small, repeated effort. A few pages of reading, a short lesson watched with attention, a simple practice done every day, a notebook filled with questions and answers, a conversation with someone wiser. These small actions do not look impressive in the moment, but they compound. They build skill in a way that lasts. There is a serious difference between being busy and being better. A busy person often moves from task to task without gaining much strength. A better person learns how to think more clearly, speak more effectively, solve more problems, and stay calm under pressure. That kind of progress does not happen by accident. It happens when you invest a little time each day in skills that stretch you. Not every skill has to be directly tied to your current job. In fact, some of the most valuable skills are the ones that expand your whole life. Communication, writing, emotional control, financial understanding, problem solving, time management, digital literacy, public speaking, sales, leadership. These skills can help you at work, but they also help you in your family, your health, your decisions, and your future opportunities. A person who grows every day becomes harder to replace. That is not because they seek attention, it is because they become useful in deeper ways. They learn how to adapt when circumstances change. They know how to handle new situations without panic. They can step into unfamiliar spaces and still function well. This matters because jobs change, technology changes, markets change, expectations change. If you depend only on the narrow skill set of your current role, you may feel secure until one shift takes that security away. But if you keep building beyond your job requirements, you create resilience. You build a life that can bend without breaking. Think about what happens when someone learns one new useful thing every day. At first it seems small, but after weeks and months, that person has a better vocabulary, a sharper mind, and more confidence in conversation. They begin to notice patterns faster. They understand people better. They make better decisions. They stop feeling lost when new problems appear. This is how daily learning changes a life. It does not only add knowledge, it changes the way a person sees themselves. They no longer think of themselves as someone who just gets through the day. They begin to see themselves as someone who is actively becoming stronger. One of the best ways to build skills beyond your job is to choose one area that would improve your life, even if your job never asked for it. Maybe it is writing clearly. Maybe it is speaking with confidence. Maybe it is learning a second language. Maybe it is understanding money better. Maybe it is learning how to use new tools or software. Maybe it is improving emotional discipline so you respond rather than react. Pick one area and stay with it long enough to see progress. Many people fail because they keep changing direction too soon. They get excited, then distracted, then discouraged. Real growth requires patience. It requires a willingness to stay with the process even when results are slow. You do not need a perfect learning plan. You need a repeatable one. A simple daily pattern can change everything. Read for 10 to 15 minutes. Practice one new idea. Write down one lesson. Apply one thing immediately. Repeat. That is enough to begin. The point is not to overload yourself. The point is to train your mind to stay open. A person who learns every day remains mentally alive. A person who stops learning begins to shrink, even if they keep working hard. Hard work without learning can make you tired. Hard work with learning makes you stronger. The world often praises visible effort, but quiet growth is just as important. Nobody always sees the hours you spend improving your skill. Nobody always applauds the notes you take or the mistakes you correct. But these private moments shape the person you become. And the person you become will show up everywhere. It will show in your work performance. It will show in your confidence. It will show in how you speak when under pressure. It will show in how you handle challenges that used to overwhelm you. Skill building changes the inside first, then the outside follows. There is also wisdom in learning skills that protect your independence. A person who can write well can communicate clearly. A person who can speak well can present ideas with strength. A person who understands technology can move through modern life with less fear. A person who knows how to manage money can avoid unnecessary stress. A person who can plan well can make better choices with time. These are not optional extras. They are life skills. They give you more control over your future. They make you less dependent on luck, less trapped by confusion, and less vulnerable to pressure. Many people say they are too tired to learn after work. Sometimes they are truly tired. That is real. But often the deeper issue is not exhaustion, it is habit. The mind gets used to easy comfort. It reaches for distraction because distraction asks nothing. Growth asks something. Growth asks focus. Growth asks patience. Growth asks honesty. That is why skill building must begin in a small, manageable way. You are not trying to transform your whole life in one evening. You are trying to prove to yourself that your future still matters after a long day. Even 10 minutes of focused effort can be a statement of discipline. Stoic thinking helps here because it reminds you to work with reality instead of wishing it away. You may not always have large blocks of free time. You may not always feel inspired. You may not always have perfect energy. Fine. Accept that truth and work within it. Read while commuting. Listen to useful lessons during routine tasks. Practice a language for a few minutes before bed. Review notes during lunch. Use small pockets of time with intention. A disciplined life does not wait for ideal conditions. It uses the conditions it has. That is how strength grows. You should also be careful not to confuse entertainment with growth. It is easy to fill the day with noise and still learn nothing. A screen can make time disappear, but it cannot make you wiser by itself. If you want a stronger life, be intentional about what enters your mind. Choose content that teaches. Choose books and lessons that challenge you. Choose conversations that sharpen your thinking. Choose environments that support progress. Your mind is always being shaped by something. The question is whether you are shaping it on purpose or letting random input shape it for you. Another important habit is to apply what you learn right away. Knowledge becomes real when it is used. If you learn a better way to communicate, use it in your next conversation. If you learn a new organization method, use it on the same day. If you learn a financial idea, apply it to your budget. If you learn a new work skill, test it as soon as possible. This immediate use turns information into ability. Too many people collect ideas and never convert them into action. Do not let that happen to you. Every lesson should lead to something practical. A growing person also learns how to measure progress in a healthy way. Do not judge yourself only by dramatic results. Judge yourself by consistency. Did you show up today? Did you learn something useful? Did you practice with focus? Did you repeat the habit even when it was not exciting? These questions matter because growth is built by repetition. The person who practices a little every day will often surpass the person who works intensely for 1 week and then stops. Consistency is quiet, but it is powerful. Your job may reward results that can be seen quickly. Personal growth often works more slowly. That is why patience matters. When you build skills beyond your job requirements, you are planting for seasons you cannot fully see yet. You may not use a skill right away. You may not notice the benefit this week. That is all right. The value of growth is often revealed later, when you need it most. A hard conversation becomes easier because you practiced speaking clearly. A new opportunity becomes possible because you learned something in advance. A crisis feels less frightening because you developed calm under pressure. This is how daily learning saves you in ways you cannot predict. Do not wait for motivation to become a learner. Decide first, then act. The decision comes before the feeling. A mature person does not ask whether they feel like growing. They ask what growth requires today. Maybe today it is 1 chapter. Maybe today it is 1 short lesson. Maybe today it is 1 page of notes. Maybe today it is 1 new skill practiced for 10 minutes. That is enough if it is honest. What matters is that you are moving. What matters is that you are feeding the part of you that wants a stronger future. If you keep investing daily time in skills beyond job requirements, you will begin to notice a change in your confidence. You will speak differently because you know more. You will think differently because your mind has been trained. You will handle pressure differently because you have practiced discipline. You will see opportunity differently because your eyes are no longer fixed only on survival. This is the reward of steady growth. It gives you a larger life, not a louder one, a larger one. A life with more options, more self-respect, more calm and more freedom. The work you do for your job may help you survive today. The work you do on your skills shapes who you become tomorrow. That second work is the more important one. Protect time for it. Treat it seriously. Repeat it daily. Stay patient with the process. Little by little, the person you are building will become capable of carrying more, choosing better, and living with greater strength. And that is how real progress happens. Not by waiting for a perfect season, not by hoping life becomes easier, but by choosing every day to grow beyond what the job asks and become someone stronger than circumstance. Chapter 3. Define personal goals that matter more than promotions. Many people spend years chasing promotions without ever stopping to ask a deeper question. What do I actually want from my life? It sounds simple, yet countless individuals move from one achievement to another without finding a satisfying answer. They work harder, take on more responsibilities, earn better titles, and receive recognition from others, but a quiet feeling remains. Something still feels incomplete. The reason is often not a lack of success. The reason is a lack of personal direction. A promotion can improve your position at work, but it cannot automatically improve your life. It cannot decide your values. It cannot define your character. It cannot create inner peace. It cannot determine how you spend your time outside the office. It cannot tell you what kind of person you should become. Those decisions belong to you. When personal goals are unclear, career advancement often becomes the default target. People begin climbing a ladder simply because it is there. Years later, they realize they never asked whether the ladder was leaning against the right wall. Personal goals create a different way of living. They force you to think beyond salary increases, job titles, and external rewards. They ask you to consider the quality of your life as a whole. They encourage you to examine your health, relationships, knowledge, emotional strength, daily habits, and long-term purpose. This perspective changes everything because it shifts your attention from temporary achievements to lasting development. The world often measures success by visible accomplishments. It notices promotions, awards, and financial gains. Those things are easy to see. Personal growth is harder to notice. No one immediately sees the patience you developed during difficult situations. No one can instantly measure the confidence you built through repeated effort. Few people recognize the discipline required to keep promises to yourself. Yet these qualities have a deeper impact on your life than any title ever could. Imagine two people receiving the same promotion. One sees it as proof of personal worth. The other sees it as a professional opportunity while keeping personal growth as the highest priority. The first person becomes emotionally attached to the position. Every challenge feels threatening because their identity depends on success. The second person remains grounded because their identity is rooted in something stronger. They value learning, character, and self-mastery more than status. If circumstances change, they remain steady because their foundation was never built on a job title alone. This is why defining personal goals matters so much. Personal goals help you create an internal compass. They guide decisions when life becomes complicated. They remind you what deserves your energy and what does not. Without them, it becomes easy to drift wherever circumstances push you. You begin reacting instead of directing. You become busy without being intentional. One of the most powerful exercises you can do is imagine yourself 10 years from now. Not your job title, not your salary, not your office. Think about the person you want to become. How do you handle pressure? How do you treat others? How disciplined are your habits? What kind of health do you have? What values guide your decisions? What skills have you developed? What relationships have you strengthened? These questions reveal goals that matter beyond career advancement. Many people discover that what they truly want has little to do with promotions. They want freedom over their schedule. They want emotional stability during difficult times. They want financial security without constant anxiety. They want meaningful relationships. They want physical strength and energy. They want confidence rooted in competence rather than praise. They want a sense of purpose that remains steady regardless of professional circumstances. These goals often require different actions than the pursuit of status. A person focused only on advancement may sacrifice sleep, health, and family time for short-term gains. A person guided by meaningful personal goals evaluates decisions differently. They understand that success achieved at the cost of everything else is not true success. They recognize that every opportunity comes with a price. Wisdom means knowing which prices are too expensive. One of the greatest mistakes people make is allowing external rewards to define their self-worth. They begin believing that every promotion proves value and every setback diminishes it. This creates emotional instability because external conditions constantly change. Markets shift, companies reorganize, leaders come and go, expectations evolve. If your confidence depends entirely on circumstances, your peace becomes fragile. A stronger approach is to base self-respect on qualities within your control. Did you act with integrity? Did you remain disciplined when things became difficult? Did you continue learning? Did you fulfill your responsibilities with excellence? Did you treat people with respect? These questions create a more stable foundation because the answers depend primarily on your choices rather than external outcomes. Personal goals should reflect values, not trends. Many people spend years pursuing objectives they inherited from others. They chase what society celebrates without examining whether it aligns with their own priorities. This often leads to frustration because achievement without alignment rarely creates fulfillment. You can reach a destination and still feel lost if the destination was never truly yours. Clarity requires honesty. You must be willing to separate your genuine desires from social expectations. This process can feel uncomfortable because it forces you to question assumptions. Perhaps you discover that your highest priority is not reaching executive leadership. Perhaps you care more about creating balance, developing expertise, maintaining strong relationships, or building financial independence. There is nothing wrong with choosing a different path. The goal is not to impress others. The goal is to create a life that reflects your deepest values. A useful question to ask yourself is this: if nobody could see my achievements, what goals would still matter to me? This question removes the influence of recognition. It reveals what you genuinely care about. Maybe you would still want to improve your health. Maybe you would still want to become more knowledgeable. Maybe you would still want stronger emotional control. Maybe you would still want meaningful relationships. These answers point toward goals with lasting significance. The Stoic philosophers understood something that remains true today. External success is never fully within your control. Effort is within your control. Character is within your control. Perspective is within your control. Actions are within your control. Therefore, wise people focus their greatest attention on what they can influence directly. They do not become passive. They continue working hard. They simply refuse to attach their entire identity to outcomes they cannot fully guarantee. This mindset creates freedom. It allows you to pursue excellence without becoming dependent on external validation. You can work diligently toward advancement while recognizing that your worth extends far beyond professional achievement. You can celebrate success without allowing it to define you. You can face disappointment without allowing it to destroy your confidence. Another important aspect of defining personal goals is understanding the difference between achievement goals and growth goals. Achievement goals focus on reaching a specific outcome. Growth goals focus on becoming a stronger person. Both have value, but growth goals provide benefits that continue long after individual achievements are forgotten. For example, earning a promotion is an achievement goal. Developing leadership skills is a growth goal. Increasing income is an achievement goal. Learning financial discipline is a growth goal. Receiving recognition is an achievement goal. Building confidence through competence is a growth goal. Growth goals create lasting transformation because they change who you are rather than simply what you accomplish. This distinction matters because life is unpredictable. Achievement goals can be delayed by circumstances beyond your control. Growth goals remain available every day. No one can prevent you from becoming more disciplined. No one can stop you from improving your communication skills. No one can block your effort to develop patience, wisdom, resilience, or knowledge. These pursuits remain accessible regardless of external conditions. Personal goals should also be specific enough to guide action. A vague desire for improvement rarely produces meaningful change. Clarity creates momentum. Instead of saying you want a better life, define what that means. Perhaps it means exercising consistently. Perhaps it means reading regularly. Perhaps it means reducing unnecessary spending. Perhaps it means improving emotional regulation. The more clearly you define your objectives, the easier it becomes to align daily choices with long-term priorities. Your daily schedule reveals your true priorities, not your intentions, not your wishes, your actual behavior. If personal growth matters, it must appear in your routine. Time must be allocated for learning, reflection, health, and development. Otherwise, even meaningful goals remain ideas rather than realities. Many people underestimate the power of small daily actions. They imagine that transformation requires dramatic change. In truth, meaningful progress often begins with modest commitments. 20 minutes of reading each day, a short period of exercise, a few minutes of reflection, consistent practice of a valuable skill. These actions may seem insignificant in isolation, but their cumulative effect becomes remarkable over time. Patience is essential during this process. Modern culture often promotes immediate results, but lasting growth follows a different timeline. Character develops gradually. Wisdom develops gradually. Confidence develops gradually. Strength develops gradually. A person committed to meaningful goals learns to appreciate steady progress rather than demanding instant transformation. There will be moments when external opportunities compete with personal priorities. Additional responsibilities may promise recognition. New projects may offer visibility. Certain opportunities may appear attractive because they bring status. During these moments, personal goals provide clarity. They help you evaluate whether a choice supports the life you truly want to build. This does not mean rejecting ambition. Ambition can be healthy when guided by wisdom. The problem arises when ambition becomes disconnected from purpose. A person can spend years climbing higher while moving further away from what actually matters. Personal goals ensure that progress remains aligned with deeper values. As you continue through life, your goals may evolve. That is natural. Growth often changes perspective. Experiences reveal new priorities. Responsibilities shift. Circumstances change. The important thing is maintaining conscious direction. Regularly examine your goals. Ask whether they still reflect your values. Ask whether they contribute to the person you want to become. Adjust when necessary, but never drift without intention. At the end of life, few people wish they had spent more time chasing titles alone. Many wish they had invested more deeply in their growth, relationships, health, wisdom, and purpose. They wish they had become more of the person they were capable of becoming. That realization contains an important lesson. Personal development is not something to postpone until after success. It is the foundation upon which meaningful success is built. Define goals that remain important regardless of professional circumstances. Define goals that strengthen your character. Define goals that improve your mind. Define goals that increase your resilience. Define goals that create a richer and more purposeful life. When personal growth becomes your highest priority, promotions become secondary benefits rather than primary objectives. They may still come. They may even come more often because growth increases capability. But they no longer control your sense of worth. A promotion can change your position. A meaningful personal goal can change your life. One affects your career. The other affects the person living that career. When forced to choose which deserves greater attention, Always invest in becoming a stronger human being. Every other success becomes more valuable when built upon that foundation. Chapter 4. Create boundaries that protect time for self-development. One of the greatest challenges in personal growth is not a lack of information. Most people already know many things that could improve their lives. They know exercise is beneficial. They know learning new skills is valuable. They understand the importance of reflection, discipline, healthy habits, and meaningful relationships. The real challenge is creating enough space in life to consistently practice these things. Knowledge alone changes very little. Growth requires time, attention, and repeated effort. Without protecting those resources, even the best intentions slowly disappear under the weight of daily demands. Many people wake up with plans to improve themselves. They want to read more, learn new skills, strengthen their health, or spend time reflecting on their goals. Yet by the end of the day, none of those things happen. Work expands. Messages arrive, unexpected problems appear. Other people's requests fill the schedule. Fatigue sets in. Eventually they tell themselves they will start tomorrow. Then tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Years pass and the desire for growth remains trapped in the future. This happens because good intentions are not enough. Personal development requires boundaries. Boundaries are not walls built to keep people away. They are decisions that protect what matters most. They create structure. They give direction to your time. They prevent your priorities from being consumed by constant demands. Without boundaries, life becomes reactive. With boundaries, life becomes intentional. Many people hear the word boundary and immediately think about conflict. They imagine difficult conversations or uncomfortable situations. In reality, boundaries are often quiet choices made long before any conversation occurs. They begin with deciding what deserves protection. Before you can defend your time, you must first believe your growth is valuable enough to deserve it. This is where many people struggle. They willingly protect meetings, appointments, deadlines, and obligations to others, yet they treat commitments to themselves as optional. If a work meeting appears, they show up. If someone requests assistance, they rearrange their schedule. If an urgent task emerges, they respond immediately. But when it comes to reading, exercising, studying, planning, or reflecting, they often postpone it without hesitation. This sends a powerful message to the mind. It teaches you that your own development is less important than everything else. A stronger approach is to treat personal growth as a serious responsibility rather than a hobby. The skills you build, the habits you strengthen, and the wisdom you develop affect every area of your life. They influence your decisions, relationships, opportunities, and resilience. Protecting time for these activities is not selfish. It is one of the most responsible choices you can make. The Stoic philosophers understood the value of guarding what is important. They recognized that attention is limited, time is limited, energy is limited. Therefore, every choice carries a cost. When you say yes to one thing, you are automatically saying no to something else. Many people overlook this reality. They focus only on what they gain from a decision while ignoring what they sacrifice. Imagine someone who agrees to every request that comes their way. They stay late whenever asked. They constantly check messages. They volunteer for additional tasks regardless of their current workload. They make themselves available at all hours. At first, this behavior may appear admirable. Others appreciate their willingness to help. Yet over time, something important happens. Their own goals begin to disappear. Their health receives less attention. Their learning slows. Their personal projects remain unfinished. Their growth becomes secondary. This pattern creates an invisible loss. The loss is not immediately obvious because it happens gradually. Day after day, small opportunities for self-development are surrendered. The cost accumulates quietly until one day the person realizes they have spent years responding to life without actively shaping it. Boundaries interrupt this cycle. They create space where growth can occur. They allow you to invest in yourself before every available moment is claimed by external demands. They remind you that your future deserves attention today. One of the most practical boundaries you can create involves your mornings. The first part of the day often determines the tone of everything that follows. Many people begin their mornings by immediately reacting. They check messages, scroll through notifications, and absorb other people's priorities before considering their own. Within minutes, their attention belongs to the outside world. A different approach creates a powerful shift. Before engaging with external demands, dedicate time to activities that strengthen you. Read something valuable. Reflect on your goals. Exercise. Practice a skill. Spend a few moments thinking clearly before the noise of the day begins. This simple boundary sends a message to yourself. It says that your growth matters enough to receive your best attention. Another important boundary involves technology. Modern devices provide incredible benefits, but they also constant interruption. Many people spend hours responding to notifications without realizing how fragmented their focus has become. Every alert pulls attention away from deeper work. Every interruption makes concentration more difficult. Every unnecessary distraction steals time that could have been invested in development. This does not mean rejecting technology. It means using it deliberately. Decide when you will check messages rather than checking them continuously. Create periods where your attention remains uninterrupted. Protect certain hours from unnecessary digital noise. These small changes often reveal how much time was previously disappearing without purpose. Many individuals struggle with boundaries because they fear disappointing others. They worry that saying no will damage relationships or create negative impressions. This fear often leads to overcommitment. They accept responsibilities they cannot reasonably handle. They agree to activities that do not align with their priorities. They sacrifice important personal commitments to avoid temporary discomfort. True maturity requires understanding that every meaningful life includes limits. You cannot be available for everything. You cannot satisfy every request. You cannot pursue every opportunity. Trying to do so creates exhaustion rather than fulfillment. Wise people accept this reality. They recognize that effectiveness depends on focus, not endless availability. Learning to decline certain requests is a valuable skill. It does not require harshness or disrespect. It simply requires clarity. You can appreciate an opportunity without accepting it. You can value a person without agreeing to every request. You can remain helpful while still protecting your priorities. Boundaries become easier when you realize that saying no to one thing often means saying yes to something more important. Many people assume that protecting time for growth requires large blocks of free time. This belief often becomes an excuse for inaction. They wait for ideal conditions that rarely arrive. In reality, self-development can happen in smaller segments. 30 minutes of focused learning, 20 minutes of exercise, 15 minutes of reflection. These periods may seem modest, but their cumulative effect is significant. The key is consistency. Small investments repeated regularly create results that occasional bursts of effort cannot match. Boundaries make consistency possible because they establish reliable space for growth. Instead of hoping time will appear, you intentionally reserve it. It is also important to establish mental boundaries. Physical schedules matter, but mental habits influence how effectively you use your time. Many people remain trapped by constant worry about work even when they are not working. Their bodies may be at home, but their minds remain occupied by unresolved concerns. This mental clutter reduces the quality of personal time. Developing the ability to mentally transition between responsibilities is valuable. When work ends, allow yourself to fully engage with other priorities. When reading, focus on reading. When exercising, focus on exercising. When spending time with loved ones, be present with them. This practice strengthens attention and increases the value of every activity. A boundary is ultimately a declaration of importance. It communicates what you are unwilling to sacrifice. Some people protect entertainment with greater consistency than they protect growth. Others guard convenience more carefully than they guard their future. These choices shape outcomes over time. Consider the activities that genuinely improve your life. Perhaps it is learning new skills. Perhaps it is maintaining physical health. Perhaps it is developing emotional resilience. Perhaps it is pursuing creative work or meaningful projects. Whatever those activities may be, they deserve a place in your schedule before the day becomes crowded with obligations. There will always be reasons to postpone growth. Life rarely becomes less demanding on its own. Responsibilities continue. Challenges appear. Unexpected situations arise. Waiting for perfect conditions often means waiting forever. Boundaries allow growth to happen despite life's complexity, rather than after it disappears. The most successful people in personal development are not necessarily those with the most free time. Often they are individuals who have learned to protect their priorities. They understand that every important achievement requires sacrifice. They choose what deserves their attention and defend it consistently. They do not rely solely on motivation. They create systems that support progress even when motivation fluctuates. Over time, these choices produce remarkable results. Skills improve, confidence increases, health strengthens, perspective deepens, opportunities expand. None of these changes happen overnight. They emerge gradually through repeated investment in growth. The boundary itself may seem small, but its long-term impact is substantial. There is also a deeper benefit. Boundaries create a sense of ownership over your life. Instead of feeling controlled by circumstances, you begin directing your attention with intention. You become less reactive and more deliberate. You spend less time wondering where the day went, and more time knowing exactly how it was used. This sense of ownership builds confidence. Not the confidence that comes from praise or recognition, but the confidence that comes from self-trust. Every time you protect a commitment to your development, you strengthen that trust. You prove that your goals matter. You demonstrate discipline. You reinforce the belief that your future deserves investment. Eventually, protecting time for growth becomes part of your identity. It is no longer something you occasionally remember to do. It becomes a natural expression of your values. You stop viewing self-development as an extra activity and begin seeing it as an essential responsibility. Your future is shaped by what repeatedly receives your attention. If every available moment belongs to external demands, personal growth remains limited. If you intentionally create space for learning, reflection, health, and improvement, your life gradually expands. The difference is not luck. The difference is structure. Time is one of the few resources that can never be replaced once spent. Every day offers a choice. You can allow circumstances to determine where your attention goes, or you can establish boundaries that align with the person you want to become. One path leads to constant reaction. The other leads to deliberate growth. Choose the path of deliberate growth. Protect the hours that strengthen your mind. Guard the activities that improve your character. Preserve the moments that move you closer to your highest potential. The boundary may seem invisible to others, but its results will become visible in every part of your life. Over time, those protected moments become the foundation upon which a stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled version of yourself is built. Chapter 5. Develop habits that strengthen character, confidence, and discipline. Most people want confidence. They want discipline. They want stronger character. They want the ability to stay focused when life becomes difficult. They want to trust themselves more. They want to face challenges without feeling overwhelmed. These desires are natural, but many people search for them in the wrong places. They look for confidence in praise. They look for discipline in motivation. They look for character in good intentions. Unfortunately, none of these foundations are strong enough to last. Real confidence is not created by compliments. Discipline is not created by excitement. Character is not created by words alone. These qualities are built through habits. They are developed through repeated actions that slowly shape the way a person thinks, behaves, and responds to life. Every habit is teaching you something. Every repeated behavior is strengthening a part of your identity. The question is whether those habits are building the person you want to become or reinforcing the person you are trying to leave behind. Many people underestimate the power of ordinary actions. They imagine personal transformation must begin with dramatic decisions. They wait for a breakthrough moment. They hope for sudden inspiration. Yet lasting change rarely works that way. The strongest character is often built through small choices made consistently over long periods of time. A person becomes reliable by repeatedly honoring commitments. A person becomes disciplined by repeatedly choosing what is necessary over what is comfortable. A person becomes confident by repeatedly proving to themselves that they can be trusted. One reason habits matter so much is because they operate even when emotions change. Feelings are unpredictable. Some mornings you wake up energized, other mornings you feel tired. Some days you feel optimistic. Other days you feel discouraged. If your progress depends entirely on how you feel, your growth will remain unstable. Habits create structure when emotions fluctuate. They help you continue moving forward regardless of your mood. This is one of the most important lessons a person can learn. Success is not built on occasional effort. It is built on repeated behavior. Character follows the same principle. Every day presents opportunities to strengthen or weaken your standards. Every decision leaves a small mark. Those marks accumulate. Over time they become your reputation, your confidence, and your identity. Many people struggle with self-confidence because they break promises to themselves too often. They set goals and abandon them. They create plans and ignore them. They make commitments and fail to follow through. Eventually they stop trusting their own words. This creates an internal conflict. They want to believe in themselves, but their actions provide conflicting evidence. The solution is not making bigger promises. The solution is keeping smaller ones consistently. Confidence grows when your actions match your intentions. If you decide to wake up at a certain time, follow through. If you commit to exercising, complete the session. If you plan to study, do the work. These actions may seem simple, but they send a powerful message to your mind. They prove that your words have meaning. Every fulfilled commitment becomes evidence that you are dependable. Many people mistakenly think confidence comes before action. They believe they must feel ready before they begin. Reality often works in the opposite direction. Action creates confidence. Every challenge you face successfully strengthens your belief in yourself. Every difficult task completed increases your sense of capability. Every fear confronted reduces its power over you. Imagine a person who avoids every uncomfortable situation. They avoid difficult conversations. They avoid challenging responsibilities. They avoid opportunities that carry uncertainty. At first, this behavior may create temporary relief. However, over time it weakens confidence because the person never develops evidence of their own capability. They remain uncertain because they never test themselves. Now imagine someone who gradually develops the habit of facing discomfort. They speak honestly when honesty feels difficult. They attempt tasks that stretch their abilities. They take responsibility when responsibility feels heavy. They do not seek discomfort for its own sake. They simply refuse to run from it. This habit changes them. Their confidence grows because they repeatedly demonstrate courage. They learn that they can handle more than they once believed. Discipline develops through a similar process. Many people view discipline as punishment. They imagine it requires constant struggle and restriction. In reality, discipline is one of the greatest forms of self-respect. It means directing your behavior according to your values rather than your impulses. It means making decisions based on what matters most rather than what feels easiest in the moment. Consider how often people surrender important goals for immediate comfort. They postpone exercise because resting feels easier. They delay learning because entertainment feels more appealing. They avoid difficult work because distraction offers temporary relief. Each decision seems small, but together they shape a life. Comfort is not always harmful. Rest has value. Recreation has value. The problem arises when short-term pleasure consistently defeats long-term purpose. Discipline changes this pattern. It teaches you to consider consequences beyond the present moment. It helps you ask a better question. Instead of asking what feels good right now, you begin asking what serves your future. This shift creates remarkable results because it aligns daily behavior with long-term goals. One of the strongest habits you can develop is finishing what you start. Many people begin projects with enthusiasm but abandon them when excitement fades. They start books they never finish. They begin courses they never complete. They make plans they never execute. This pattern weakens discipline because it trains the mind to quit whenever effort becomes inconvenient. Completion develops a different mindset. When you finish tasks consistently, you strengthen persistence. You learn how to continue despite boredom, frustration, or difficulty. This skill becomes valuable in every area of life because meaningful achievements rarely happen without sustained effort. Another powerful habit involves telling yourself the truth. This may sound simple, but many people spend years avoiding uncomfortable realities. They blame circumstances for problems they could influence. They create excuses instead of solutions. They ignore weaknesses rather than addressing them. Honest self-examination requires courage because it removes the protection of denial. A person with strong character does not hide from reality. They acknowledge mistakes without allowing mistakes to define them. They recognize limitations while working to improve them. They accept responsibility for their choices. This habit creates personal strength because it places control where it belongs. Instead of waiting for circumstances to change, they focus on changing themselves. Character is also shaped by how you behave when no one is watching. Public behavior matters, but private behavior reveals deeper truths. It is easy to act responsibly when recognition is involved. It is harder to maintain standards when there is no immediate reward. Yet this is where character grows strongest. Do you honor commitments that nobody else knows about? Do you maintain discipline when external pressure disappears? Do you choose integrity when dishonesty would be easier? These moments define character because they reveal what you value beyond appearances. The Stoic philosophers emphasized the importance of inner standards. They understood that external praise is unreliable. Public opinion changes constantly. Approval can disappear as quickly as it arrives. Building your life around recognition creates instability because your sense of worth becomes dependent on forces you cannot control. A stronger foundation comes from living according to principles. When your actions align with your values, you experience a different kind of confidence. It is quieter than arrogance. It does not require attention. It comes from knowing that you are acting with integrity, regardless of who notices. Patience is another habit that strengthens character. Modern culture often encourages immediate gratification. People want quick results, instant feedback and rapid progress, yet many valuable things require time. Skill development requires time. Physical fitness requires time. Trust requires time. Wisdom requires time. A person who learns patience gains a significant advantage because they remain committed long enough to experience meaningful growth. Patience does not mean passivity. It means continuing the work while allowing results to unfold naturally. It means understanding that daily effort matters even when progress feels slow. This perspective reduces frustration and strengthens resilience. Gratitude also plays an important role in character development. Many people constantly focus on what is missing. They compare themselves to others. They dwell on what they have not achieved. This habit creates dissatisfaction regardless of external success. Gratitude shifts attention toward what already exists. It encourages appreciation without reducing ambition. A grateful person is not complacent. They continue striving for improvement. The difference is that their pursuit of growth comes from a place of appreciation rather than constant frustration. This mindset creates greater emotional stability and healthier motivation. Another valuable habit is controlling your reactions. Life presents situations that test patience, judgment, and emotional balance. People disappoint you, plans fail, obstacles appear unexpectedly. While you cannot control every event, you can influence your response. This ability becomes one of the strongest indicators of maturity. Many individuals allow circumstances to dictate their emotions completely. A minor inconvenience ruins their day. A criticism destroys their confidence. A setback causes them to quit. Emotional control does not mean suppressing feelings. It means refusing to become a prisoner of them. It means creating space between an event and your reaction. Every time you respond thoughtfully instead of impulsively, you strengthen discipline. Every time you remain calm during difficulty, you strengthen character. Every time you choose wisdom over emotion, you reinforce self-mastery. There is also tremendous value in developing the habit of continuous improvement. Some people stop growing once they reach a certain level of comfort. They settle into routines that require little effort. They stop challenging themselves. Over time, stagnation replaces progress. A growth-oriented person remains curious. They continue learning. They continue refining skills. They continue examining weaknesses. They understand that development is not a destination but an ongoing process. This attitude keeps the mind engaged and prevents complacency. Perhaps the most important truth about habits is that they shape identity. Every action becomes a vote for the type of person you are becoming. When you act with discipline, you strengthen the identity of a disciplined person. When you act with courage, you strengthen the identity of a courageous person. When you act with integrity, you strengthen the identity of an honest person. This process happens whether you notice it or not. Every day your habits are building someone. They are constructing character one decision at a time. They are influencing how you think, how you respond, and how you see yourself. The good news is that change does not require perfection. You do not need flawless behavior. You do not need extraordinary talent. You simply need a willingness to practice better habits consistently. Small improvements, repeated over time, create significant transformation. Confidence is earned through action. Discipline is strengthened through repetition. Character is built through choices. These qualities are not gifts reserved for a fortunate few. They are developed by ordinary people who commit themselves to consistent standards. The person you become tomorrow depends largely on the habits practiced today. Choose habits that make you stronger. Choose habits that align with your values. Choose habits that help you grow even when growth feels difficult. With enough repetition, those habits will become part of who you are. And when that happens, confidence will no longer depend on circumstances, discipline will no longer feel forced, and character will become the quiet strength that guides every area of your life. Chapter 6. Learn new knowledge every day to expand potential. Every person begins life with potential, but potential by itself changes nothing. Potential is not achievement. Potential is not wisdom. Potential is not strength. Potential is simply possibility. It represents what could happen if growth is pursued consistently. The gap between possibility and reality is filled by learning. Every piece of useful knowledge you gain becomes a tool. Every lesson you absorb becomes a resource. Every new understanding expands your ability to navigate life with greater confidence and clarity. Many people reach a point where they stop learning intentionally. They finish school, enter the workforce, and slowly begin living from what they already know. Days become predictable, routines become fixed, curiosity fades into the background. Years pass, and while they gain experience, they stop actively expanding their understanding of the world. This creates a hidden problem. Life continues changing, but they do not change with it. New challenges emerge, new opportunities appear, and new realities develop, yet their thinking remains limited by old information. A person who commits to learning every day avoids this trap. They remain mentally alive. They continue growing regardless of age, occupation, or circumstances. They understand that education is not something that ends when formal schooling is over. True education lasts a lifetime. It is a daily practice of expanding awareness, improving judgment, and increasing capability. The quality of your life is influenced by the quality of your thinking. Your decisions shape your future, and your knowledge influences your decisions. This means learning is not merely about collecting facts. It is about improving the way you interpret situations, solve problems, and understand reality. Every new insight has the potential to improve choices that affect your health, finances, relationships, career, and personal fulfillment. Many people underestimate how much they can learn in a single year. They focus on dramatic transformations and overlook the power of small daily progress. Reading a few pages each day may seem insignificant. Listening to an educational discussion during a commute may appear minor. Studying a useful skill for 20 minutes may not feel impressive. Yet these small efforts accumulate. Over months and years, they create a person who thinks differently, communicates more effectively, and approaches challenges with greater understanding. The mind works much like a field. Whatever is planted repeatedly begins to grow. If the mind is constantly filled with distraction, gossip, negativity, and meaningless information, those influences shape thinking. If the mind is fed useful ideas, valuable principles, and practical wisdom, those influences shape thinking as well. Every day you are mentally consuming something. The important question is whether what you consume is helping you become stronger or simply filling time. There is a significant difference between being informed and being transformed. Many people consume endless information without applying any of it. They watch educational content, read articles, and gather advice, yet their lives remain unchanged. Knowledge becomes powerful only when it influences behavior. Learning is not complete when information enters your mind. Learning is complete when information changes the way you act. This is why practical application matters so much. If you learn a better way to manage time, use it immediately. If you discover a useful communication technique, practice it during your next conversation. If you gain insight about financial discipline, apply it to your next financial decision. Knowledge becomes valuable when it moves from understanding into action. One of the greatest benefits of continuous learning is adaptability. Life rarely follows a predictable path. Industries change, technology evolves, economic conditions shift, personal circumstances transform unexpectedly. People who refuse to learn often struggle when change arrives because they depend heavily on familiar conditions. People who continue expanding their knowledge develop flexibility. They become capable of adjusting because their minds remain open and active. Adaptability is not merely a professional advantage. It is a life advantage. It helps you remain effective during uncertainty. It allows you to respond intelligently to new situations rather than reacting with fear. A flexible mind can navigate challenges that overwhelm a rigid one. There is also tremendous value in learning beyond the boundaries of your current responsibilities. Many individuals limit their education to subjects directly related to their jobs. While professional knowledge is important, personal growth often requires broader learning. Understanding psychology can improve relationships. Learning about health can improve energy and longevity. Studying communication can improve leadership. Exploring philosophy can improve judgment. Examining history can improve perspective. The world is interconnected. Knowledge gained in one area often improves performance in another. A person who studies human behavior may become a better manager. Someone who learns about decision-making may become a better parent. An individual who understands financial principles may experience less stress and greater freedom. Learning expands possibilities because it increases the number of tools available to you. Curiosity plays a crucial role in this process. Curious people approach life differently. They ask questions, they seek understanding, they remain interested in how things work. They view unfamiliar situations as opportunities to learn rather than threats to avoid. This mindset creates continuous growth because curiosity naturally leads to exploration. Many people lose curiosity as they grow older, not because curiosity disappears, but because certainty becomes comfortable. They begin assuming they already know enough. They stop questioning assumptions. They stop exploring new ideas. This creates stagnation. Growth requires the humility to admit that there is always more to learn. The Stoic philosophers valued this humility deeply. They understood that wisdom begins with recognizing the limits of your knowledge. A person who believes they already know everything closes the door to improvement. A person who remains teachable keeps that door open. True wisdom does not come from pretending to have all the answers. It comes from maintaining a willingness to learn. Learning also strengthens confidence, but not in the way many people expect. Surface-level confidence often depends on appearances, praise, or temporary success. Knowledge-based confidence comes from competence. It comes from understanding. It develops when you know you have invested time in improving yourself. This type of confidence tends to be more stable because it is rooted in substance rather than image. Imagine facing a challenge in an area you have studied extensively. You may still feel nervous, but you also carry a sense of preparedness. Your confidence comes from knowing that you have equipped yourself as well as possible. Learning reduces uncertainty because it increases capability. One reason some people avoid learning is that it requires effort. It is easier to remain within familiar territory. It is easier to consume entertainment than engage in study. It is easier to repeat existing patterns than develop new understanding. Growth often feels demanding because it stretches the mind beyond its comfort zone. However, comfort has a hidden cost. The more you avoid mental challenge, the more limited your potential becomes. Skills remain undeveloped. Opportunities remain unnoticed. Solutions remain undiscovered. Learning requires effort, but ignorance carries consequences as well. The difference is that the consequences of ignorance often appear later. A useful habit is dedicating specific time each day to learning. It does not need to be complicated. The important thing is consistency. Some people prefer reading in the morning before distractions accumulate. Others listen to educational material while exercising or traveling. Some dedicate time before bed to study and reflection. The exact method matters less than the commitment itself. What matters is creating a rhythm that allows knowledge to enter your life regularly. Small daily exposure often produces greater results than occasional intense effort. Consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates progress. Another valuable practice is keeping notes on what you learn. Writing strengthens understanding. It forces you to organize ideas clearly. It helps transform passive consumption into active engagement. Even a simple notebook can become a powerful tool for growth. Lessons recorded today may provide guidance years later. Learning should also involve seeking perspectives different from your own. Many people only consume information that confirms existing beliefs. While agreement feels comfortable, growth often occurs when ideas are challenged. Exposure to different viewpoints encourages critical thinking. It strengthens judgment by forcing you to examine assumptions carefully. This does not mean accepting every opinion. It means remaining open enough to evaluate ideas honestly. Intellectual maturity involves balancing conviction with curiosity. It means holding principles firmly while remaining willing to learn new information. Another important truth is that learning is not limited to books or courses. Life itself is a teacher. Conversations contain lessons. Failures contain lessons. Successes contain lessons. Difficult experiences contain lessons. Observing others contains lessons. Every day offers opportunities to gain understanding if you pay attention. The key is reflection. Many people experience valuable lessons but fail to recognize them because they move through life too quickly. Reflection allows experience to become wisdom. It transforms events into insights. It helps you identify patterns, mistakes, strengths, and opportunities for improvement. A person committed to growth asks questions after significant experiences. What worked well? What could have been handled differently? What lesson should be carried forward? These questions turn ordinary events into educational opportunities. Knowledge also expands freedom. The more you understand, the more options become available. Learning creates choices. It allows you to approach problems from multiple angles. It helps you identify opportunities that others overlook. It increases your ability to make informed decisions rather than relying solely on chance or guesswork. Perhaps most importantly, learning keeps your future open. A person who continues developing their mind remains capable of reinvention. They are not trapped by their current circumstances. They can acquire new skills, pursue new opportunities, and adapt to changing conditions. Their growth remains active because their learning remains active. There is no age limit on personal development. There is no point where growth becomes unnecessary. The most fulfilled individuals often maintain a student mindset throughout life. They continue exploring, questioning, studying, and improving. They understand that every day offers an opportunity to expand potential. Your future self will be shaped by what you repeatedly place into your mind today. Every lesson learned becomes part of your foundation. Every useful idea strengthens your perspective. Every new skill increases your capability. These gains may seem small at first, but over time they create remarkable change. A year from now, you can possess greater wisdom, stronger judgment, broader understanding, and increased confidence, not because of luck, not because circumstances suddenly improved, but because you made a simple decision and honored it consistently. You chose to learn something useful every day. Potential expands when knowledge expands. The more you learn, the more you see. The more you see, the more possibilities become visible. The more possibilities become visible, the more capable you become of creating a meaningful life. Learning is not merely an activity. It is an investment in who you are becoming. Every day you continue that investment, you move closer to the strongest version of yourself. Chapter 7. Replace approval seeking with commitment to personal progress. One of the most exhausting ways to live is to build your life around the opinions of other people. At first it may not seem harmful. Wanting acceptance feels natural. Wanting respect feels reasonable. Wanting encouragement feels human. Every person enjoys being appreciated. There is nothing wrong with that. The problem begins when approval becomes a requirement rather than a pleasant bonus. The problem begins when your decisions, emotions, confidence, and sense of worth become dependent on how others respond to you. Many people spend years chasing validation without realizing it. They choose careers to impress others. They buy things they do not need to create an image. They hide their true thoughts to avoid criticism. They constantly seek reassurance before making decisions. They feel successful only when someone notices. They feel valuable only when someone praises them. This creates a fragile foundation because other people's opinions are unstable. They change from day to day. They are influenced by emotions, circumstances, preferences, and personal biases. Building your identity on something so uncertain creates unnecessary suffering. The desire for approval often begins early in life. As children, approval helps us learn. We seek encouragement from parents, teachers, and authority figures. Positive feedback teaches us what behaviors are acceptable. This process serves a purpose. The problem occurs when that childhood pattern continues into adulthood without examination. Instead of developing an internal standard, many people continue looking outward for permission to feel good about themselves. A person trapped in approval-seeking rarely feels fully free. Every choice becomes a performance. Every action becomes a negotiation with public opinion. Instead of asking what is right, they ask what will be accepted. Instead of asking what aligns with their values, they ask what will receive praise. This mindset quietly steals personal power because it places control of self-worth into the hands of others. Personal progress offers a different path. Personal progress shifts attention inward. It focuses on growth rather than recognition. It asks a simple but powerful question. Am I becoming a better version of myself? This question changes everything because it directs energy towards something meaningful and controllable. Unlike approval, progress does not depend on public reaction. It depends on effort, learning, discipline, and consistent action. Many people underestimate how much of their stress comes from trying to manage how they are perceived. They worry about being judged. They worry about being misunderstood. They worry about disappointing people. They spend enormous amounts of mental energy trying to maintain an image. This creates constant pressure because, no matter how carefully you manage your appearance, you cannot control what others think. The Stoic philosophers understood this deeply. They recognized that other people's opinions belong to other people. You can influence perceptions through your actions, but you cannot dictate them. Someone may misunderstand your intentions despite your best efforts. Someone may criticize you unfairly. Someone may dislike you without reason. These realities are unavoidable. The moment you accept them, a tremendous burden begins to lift. Freedom begins when you stop trying to control what cannot be controlled. Freedom begins when you realize that your responsibility is not to earn universal approval. Your responsibility is to live according to principles that you respect. When your actions align with your values, you gain something more valuable than praise. You gain self-respect. Self-respect grows differently than approval. Approval comes from outside. Self-respect is earned internally. Approval can arrive instantly. Self-respect develops gradually. Approval can disappear quickly. Self-respect tends to endure because it is built upon your own behavior. Imagine completing a difficult task that nobody else sees. There is no applause. There is no recognition. There is no reward. Yet you know you followed through when it would have been easier to quit. That feeling is different from external praise. It is quieter. It is deeper. It comes from knowing that you acted in accordance with your standards. This experience strengthens identity in a way that public recognition cannot. One reason approval seeking becomes so addictive is that it provides temporary emotional rewards. A compliment feels good. Positive attention feels good. Social acceptance feels good. These experiences trigger pleasant emotions, which makes people want more. The danger is that temporary rewards can become emotional necessities. When that happens, confidence rises and falls based on external reactions. A healthier approach is learning to draw satisfaction from growth itself. This means appreciating effort, learning, and improvement, regardless of immediate recognition. It means valuing the process as much as the outcome. It means understanding that many important victories happen privately. Consider someone learning a new skill. In the beginning, progress may be slow. Results may not be obvious. Few people may notice the effort involved. If that person depends entirely on external encouragement, motivation may disappear quickly. If they learn to value personal improvement, they continue regardless of attention. Their satisfaction comes from seeing themselves advance, not from watching others react. This mindset creates resilience. When praise arrives, it is appreciated but not required. When criticism arrives, it is evaluated rather than feared. The person's emotional stability improves because it is no longer tied exclusively to public opinion. Another consequence of approval seeking is hesitation. Many people delay important actions because they fear judgment. They postpone opportunities because they worry about failure being visible. They avoid expressing ideas because they fear disagreement. They remain silent when honesty is needed because they want acceptance. This hesitation limits growth. Every significant achievement involves some level of risk. Every meaningful pursuit includes the possibility of criticism. Every act of courage invites uncertainty. A person committed to personal progress accepts these realities. They understand that avoiding judgment often means avoiding growth. Think about how many dreams remain unrealized because people are waiting for universal support before they begin. They want guarantees that everyone will approve. They want certainty that nobody will criticize them. Those guarantees never arrive. Every worthwhile path attracts both support and skepticism. Waiting for complete approval often means waiting forever. Personal progress requires a different standard. Instead of asking whether everyone agrees, ask whether the action aligns with your values and goals. Instead of seeking permission from the crowd, seek clarity from your principles. This shift creates momentum because it removes unnecessary dependence on external validation. There is also wisdom in understanding that approval is often inconsistent. The same action can generate praise from one person and criticism from another. One individual may admire your ambition while another views it negatively. One person may appreciate your honesty while another finds it uncomfortable. If your confidence depends on satisfying everyone, frustration becomes inevitable. This reality highlights an important truth. Approval is subjective, character is objective. Your commitment to honesty, discipline, kindness, responsibility, and growth can remain steady regardless of differing opinions. Focusing on character provides stability because it is rooted in values rather than reactions. Personal progress also encourages long-term thinking. Approval seeking often prioritizes immediate acceptance. Progress prioritizes future development. Sometimes the actions that improve your life are not immediately popular. Setting boundaries may disappoint people. Pursuing goals may confuse people. Changing habits may create resistance. Making difficult decisions may attract criticism, yet growth frequently requires temporary discomfort. A person committed to improvement understands this. They are willing to endure misunderstanding when necessary. They recognize that short-term approval is not always compatible with long-term fulfillment. Another powerful shift occurs when you stop comparing your progress to other people's lives. Comparison is often fueled by the desire for status and recognition. It encourages people to measure success through appearances rather than substance. This creates endless dissatisfaction because there will always be someone with more achievements, more resources, or more visibility. Personal progress offers a healthier alternative. It encourages comparison with your previous self rather than with others. The relevant question becomes whether you are improving relative to where you started. Are you wiser than you were last year? Are you more disciplined than you were 6 months ago? Are you handling challenges more effectively than before? These questions create a more productive focus because they emphasize development rather than competition. They transform growth into a personal journey instead of a public contest. One of the most liberating experiences in life is realizing that not everyone needs to understand your path. Some people will support your goals, others may not. Some will recognize your growth. Others may overlook it completely. Neither response should determine your commitment. The strongest individuals often continue moving forward regardless of public reaction. They listen to constructive feedback. They remain open to learning. They value wisdom from others. However, they do not surrender responsibility for their direction. They maintain ownership of their choices. This ownership creates confidence that is difficult to shake. It does not depend on popularity. It does not require constant encouragement. It survives criticism because it is rooted in something deeper than approval. It comes from knowing who you are, what you value, and where you are going. There will always be opportunities to seek validation. Modern life makes it easier than ever. Social platforms, public metrics, and constant visibility encourage people to measure worth through attention. Yet attention is not the same as fulfillment. Recognition is not the same as growth. Popularity is not the same as character. A meaningful life is built through consistent progress. It is built through learning, effort, integrity, and perseverance. These qualities often develop quietly. They may not attract immediate recognition. They may not generate applause. Yet they create something far more valuable. They create a strong foundation for lasting confidence. As you continue your journey, remember that approval can be pleasant, but it should never become your destination. Make progress the destination. Focus on becoming wiser, stronger, more disciplined, more capable, and more aligned with your values. Let growth become the standard by which you evaluate yourself. The opinions of others will continue changing. Trends will continue changing. Circumstances will continue changing. Personal progress provides an anchor amid all that change. It keeps your attention focused on what truly matters. It reminds you that your value is not determined by applause, agreement, or recognition. The most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. Strengthen that relationship through honest effort. Earn your own respect through consistent action. Build confidence through growth rather than praise. Measure success through improvement rather than approval. When you replace approval seeking with commitment to personal progress, you stop living as a reflection of other people's expectations. You begin living according to your own highest standards. And that is where real freedom begins. Chapter 8. Evaluate life decisions based on growth, not salary. Money plays an important role in life. It helps provide security, supports daily needs, creates opportunities, and reduces many forms of stress. Ignoring the importance of financial stability would be unrealistic. Every responsible adult understands that income matters. Bills must be paid. Responsibilities must be handled. Families often depend on reliable financial support. Yet there is a significant difference between respecting money and allowing money to become the primary measure of every major decision. Many people spend years evaluating opportunities through a single question: how much does it pay? While this question deserves consideration, it is often not the most important question. A higher salary can improve financial conditions, but it cannot automatically improve the person earning it. It cannot guarantee wisdom. It cannot create fulfillment. It cannot develop resilience. It cannot strengthen character. It cannot expand potential unless the individual continues growing alongside their income. One of the greatest mistakes people make is assuming that a larger paycheck automatically represents a better opportunity. In reality, some opportunities increase income while decreasing personal development. Some positions provide more money but less learning. Some environments offer financial rewards while limiting creativity, growth, and long-term capability. When people focus exclusively on immediate compensation, they sometimes sacrifice opportunities that could have produced far greater value over time. Growth creates possibilities that money alone cannot provide. Growth expands your skills. Growth improves your thinking. Growth increases your adaptability. Growth strengthens your ability to solve problems. Growth helps you become more capable in every area of life. While salary reflects what you are earning today, growth influences what you may be capable of earning and achieving in the future. Imagine two career paths. One offers slightly higher income, but little opportunity to learn anything new. The other offers moderate compensation but provides valuable experience, mentorship, skill development, and exposure to new challenges. Many people automatically choose the first option because the financial reward is immediate and visible. However, years later, the second path may produce far greater benefits because the individual has developed abilities that continue creating opportunities long after the initial decision. This principle extends beyond careers. Nearly every important life decision can be viewed through the lens of growth. Relationships, habits, environments, friendships, hobbies, and daily routines all influence personal development. The question is not simply whether something benefits you today. The deeper question is whether it helps you become stronger tomorrow. The Stoic philosophers placed great importance on personal development because they understood a fundamental truth. External circumstances can change quickly. Wealth can increase or decrease. Positions can be gained or lost. Economic conditions can shift unexpectedly. However, the qualities developed within yourself remain valuable regardless of external events. Wisdom, discipline, resilience, judgment, and character travel with you wherever you go. This understanding changes how decisions are evaluated. Instead of focusing solely on short-term rewards, you begin examining long-term consequences. You ask whether an opportunity teaches valuable skills. You consider whether it expands your perspective. You evaluate whether it encourages personal responsibility. You examine whether it challenges you to become more capable. Many individuals become trapped in situations that provide financial comfort but very little growth. At first, this may seem ideal. The work becomes predictable. Expectations become familiar. Risks appear minimal, yet over time, stagnation often creates hidden dissatisfaction. Human beings are designed to develop. We are naturally capable of learning, improving, and expanding our abilities. When growth stops, a sense of emptiness often emerges regardless of financial success. This does not mean every decision should involve sacrifice or uncertainty. It means growth should remain part of the equation. A wise person seeks both financial responsibility and personal development. The mistake occurs when money becomes the only factor that matters. There is an important difference between earning a living and building a life. Earning a living focuses on income. Building a life focuses on the person earning that income. Many people become so focused on financial advancement that they neglect the qualities that make life meaningful. They postpone learning. They ignore health. They neglect relationships. They delay personal development until some future moment when they believe they will finally have enough time. Unfortunately, that future moment often never arrives. Responsibilities continue expanding. New obligations emerge. Additional financial goals appear. The cycle repeats itself. Years pass and growth remains postponed. This is why intentional evaluation is so important. Every major decision should be examined not only for what it provides financially, but also for how it shapes you as a human being. Consider the value of an environment that encourages learning. Imagine working alongside people who challenge your thinking, expand your perspective, and inspire higher standards. The financial benefits of such an environment may not be immediately obvious, but the long-term impact can be enormous. Exposure to capable individuals often accelerates development. It improves judgment, broadens understanding, and introduces new possibilities. The opposite is also true. An environment that discourages learning can slowly limit potential. Even if compensation is attractive, a setting that promotes complacency often produces hidden costs. Over time, skills become outdated, curiosity declines, ambition weakens, growth slows. These consequences may not appear on a paycheck, but they significantly affect future opportunities. Many people underestimate the value of challenge. Comfort feels pleasant, but challenge often produces growth. Difficult responsibilities develop competence. Complex problems strengthen thinking. New experiences increase adaptability. Situations that stretch your abilities often become the experiences that shape your future most profoundly. This does not mean seeking hardship for its own sake. It means recognizing that meaningful development frequently occurs outside familiar routines. Growth requires effort. It requires adjustment. It requires a willingness to encounter situations where success is not guaranteed. These experiences build qualities that remain valuable long after the specific challenge has passed. Another important consideration involves time. Every opportunity demands an investment of time, and time is one of life's most valuable resources. When evaluating decisions, ask whether the time invested contributes to your development. Does the activity teach useful skills? Does it improve your understanding? Does it strengthen important qualities? Does it move you closer to becoming the person you want to be? A high salary accompanied by constant exhaustion may deserve closer examination. Financial rewards lose some of their value when they leave no room for health, relationships, learning, or personal fulfillment. Wealth has a purpose, but so does growth. A balanced life requires attention to both. Many individuals discover later in life that some of their most valuable decisions were not the ones that paid the most immediately. Often, the most valuable decisions were the ones that expanded capability. learning a new skill, working under a strong mentor, starting a meaningful project, developing expertise in a useful area, building character through difficult experiences. These choices frequently create benefits that compound over decades. Compounding is one of the most powerful forces in personal development. Small improvements accumulate. Skills build upon skills. Knowledge expands opportunities. Experience strengthens judgment. Confidence grows through competence. These benefits rarely appear all at once. They develop gradually through consistent investment. This is why patience matters. A growth-oriented decision may not provide immediate rewards. In fact, some choices that support long-term development may appear less attractive initially. However, when viewed across years rather than weeks, the value often becomes clear. Personal growth compounds in ways that are difficult to measure in the short term, but impossible to ignore over time. It is also important to understand that growth extends beyond professional development. Personal growth includes emotional maturity, self-awareness, communication skills, health, relationships, and character. These areas influence quality of life just as much as career success. A person who earns more money but neglects these dimensions may achieve financial progress while experiencing personal decline. True success requires a broader perspective. It requires evaluating life as a whole rather than focusing exclusively on one category. A decision that improves finances while damaging health deserves careful consideration. A choice that increases income while destroying important relationships may carry hidden costs. A path that provides status while limiting personal growth may not be as beneficial as it first appears. The Stoics often encouraged individuals to focus on becoming excellent human beings rather than merely successful professionals. They understood that external achievements gain value when supported by strong character. Without character, success can become fragile. Without wisdom, opportunities can be misused. Without discipline, accomplishments can be difficult to sustain. Growth strengthens the foundation upon which every other achievement rests. It improves your ability to handle success responsibly. It increases your capacity to navigate adversity. It enhances decision-making. It expands possibilities. Most importantly, it helps you become someone capable of creating value wherever you go. There will always be opportunities that appear attractive because of financial rewards. Some of those opportunities will be worthwhile. Others may not align with your long-term development. The key is learning to look beyond immediate compensation. Examine what the experience teaches. Evaluate how it shapes your abilities. Consider whether it aligns with your values and goals. Ask yourself thoughtful questions. Will this choice help me become more capable? Will it expand my understanding? Will it strengthen qualities that matter deeply? Will it create opportunities for continued development? Will I become a better version of myself by pursuing this path? These questions often reveal insights that salary figures alone cannot provide. As you move through life, remember that money is a tool, not a destination. It serves important purposes, but it is not the ultimate measure of a meaningful life. The person you become matters more than the income you collect. Skills matter, character matters, wisdom matters, resilience matters. These qualities continue creating value long after individual paychecks have been spent. Evaluate opportunities carefully. Respect financial realities, but do not allow them to become your only guide. Seek experiences that challenge you, educate you, strengthen you, and expand your potential. Choose paths that help you grow into someone wiser, stronger, and more capable. When growth becomes a central factor in decision-making, life begins to change. You stop asking only what an opportunity can give you today. You begin asking who it can help you become tomorrow. That question often leads to decisions that create lasting fulfillment, meaningful achievement, and a future built upon far more than money alone. Chapter 9. Take ownership of your future through continuous improvement. Ownership is one of the most powerful ideas a person can embrace. It changes how you think, how you act, and how you respond to every challenge life places in front of you. Many people spend years waiting for circumstances to improve. They wait for better opportunities. They wait for more support. They wait for ideal conditions. They wait for someone else to solve problems that affect their lives. While they wait, time continues moving forward. Days become months, months become years. Eventually, they realize that waiting rarely creates the future they hoped for. A different path begins the moment you decide to take ownership. Ownership means accepting that your future is largely influenced by the choices you make today. It means understanding that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you can influence how you respond. It means refusing to live as a passive observer of your own life. Instead, you become an active participant in shaping who you are becoming. Many people misunderstand ownership. They think it means blaming themselves for everything. That is not what ownership means. Life contains many factors beyond personal control. Economic conditions change. Unexpected setbacks occur. People disappoint you. Opportunities sometimes disappear without warning. Ownership does not require denying these realities. Ownership means focusing on your response rather than becoming trapped by circumstances. The Stoic philosophers understood this principle deeply. They taught that peace and strength come from directing attention toward what can actually be influenced. Energy spent complaining about uncontrollable events rarely improves anything. Energy invested in personal improvement often creates meaningful progress. This perspective encourages responsibility without creating unnecessary frustration. One of the clearest signs that someone has taken ownership of their future is their attitude toward problems. When difficulties appear, they do not immediately search for someone to blame. They ask a different question: what can I do now? This simple shift changes everything. Instead of becoming stuck in frustration, they begin looking for solutions. Instead of surrendering power to circumstances, they reclaim it through action. Many individuals remain trapped because they focus exclusively on what is missing. They think about resources they do not have. They compare themselves to people with different advantages. They dwell on opportunities they never received. While these observations may sometimes be accurate, they rarely create progress. Improvement begins when attention moves toward available options rather than unavailable ones. Imagine two people facing the same obstacle. One spends weeks discussing how unfair the situation is. The other spends the same time searching for ways to adapt. The obstacle may be identical, but the outcomes often become very different. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is ownership. One person remains focused on circumstances. The other remains focused on responses. Continuous improvement is the practical expression of ownership. It is the decision to become slightly better today than you were yesterday. It does not require perfection. It does not demand dramatic transformation overnight. It simply requires consistent effort. A person committed to continuous improvement understands that growth is a process rather than a single event. Many people become discouraged because they expect immediate results. They want rapid change. They want visible progress right away. When improvement happens slowly, they assume their efforts are failing. This mindset causes many promising journeys to end prematurely. The reality is that meaningful development often unfolds gradually. Small actions repeated consistently create powerful results over time. Think about how skills are developed. Nobody becomes an excellent communicator after a single conversation. Nobody develops strong leadership abilities after one experience. Nobody builds emotional resilience in a single difficult moment. These qualities emerge through repeated practice. Each effort may appear small when viewed alone, but together they create significant transformation. One of the most valuable habits you can develop is conducting regular self-evaluation. This does not mean harsh self-criticism. It means honest reflection. It means examining your actions, decisions, strengths, and weaknesses with clarity. Growth becomes difficult when self-awareness is absent. You cannot improve areas you refuse to examine. At the end of each day, ask yourself meaningful questions. What did I handle well today? Where could I have responded more effectively? What lesson should I carry forward? What action would improve tomorrow? These questions encourage learning from experience rather than simply moving through it. Many people approach personal development emotionally. They feel motivated when progress is visible and discouraged when progress feels slow. Ownership requires a more disciplined perspective. It encourages commitment regardless of temporary emotions. Some days will feel productive. Other days may feel disappointing. The key is maintaining consistency across both experiences. A farmer does not plant seeds one day and demand a harvest the next morning. Growth requires patience. The same principle applies to personal development. Every useful habit, skill, and quality requires time to mature. The person who understands this remains committed long enough to experience meaningful results. Continuous improvement also requires adaptability. Life changes. Priorities evolve. Circumstances shift. A rigid approach often creates unnecessary frustration because reality rarely follows a perfect plan. Ownership means adjusting when necessary without abandoning your commitment to growth. Sometimes improvement involves acquiring new knowledge. Sometimes it involves correcting mistakes. Sometimes it requires changing routines that no longer serve you. Sometimes it demands uncomfortable honesty about habits that are limiting progress. Growth takes many forms, but each form begins with a willingness to acknowledge reality and respond constructively. One of the greatest barriers to ownership is the belief that personal change depends entirely on external conditions. Many people tell themselves they will improve once circumstances become easier. They will start exercising when life becomes less busy. They will learn new skills when responsibilities decrease. They will focus on growth after solving every current problem. Unfortunately, life rarely becomes free of responsibilities. There is always another challenge, another obligation, another demand for attention. Waiting for perfect conditions often becomes a permanent delay. Ownership means working with reality as it exists rather than waiting for reality to become ideal. This mindset creates momentum because action begins immediately. Progress may be small at first, but movement matters. Small improvements generate confidence. Confidence encourages further effort. Further effort creates additional progress. This cycle gradually builds strength and capability. Another important aspect of ownership involves accepting responsibility for personal standards. Many people allow circumstances to determine their behavior. They work hard only when inspired. They remain disciplined only when convenient. They pursue goals only when conditions feel favorable. This creates inconsistency because external factors constantly change. A stronger approach is establishing standards that remain stable regardless of temporary emotions. You decide how you will behave. You determine what values guide your actions. You commit to principles that remain consistent even during difficult periods. This creates reliability because your choices become rooted in character rather than mood. Character grows through repeated decisions. Every time you choose responsibility over excuses, you strengthen it. Every time you choose effort over passivity, you strengthen it. Every time you choose learning over stagnation, you strengthen it. These choices may appear ordinary, but their cumulative effect is extraordinary. Many people dream about a better future without actively preparing for it. They imagine greater success, stronger relationships, improved health, or increased confidence. These desires are understandable, but dreams alone create little change. Ownership requires preparation. It requires becoming the type of person capable of handling the future you desire. If you want greater responsibility, develop greater competence. If you want stronger relationships, improve communication and emotional maturity. If you want increased opportunities, build valuable skills. If you want more confidence, practice courage and consistency. The future often reflects the preparation that occurs long before opportunities arrive. There is also wisdom in recognizing that improvement is never truly finished. Many people view growth as a destination. They imagine reaching a point where development is no longer necessary. In reality, life continually presents new lessons. Every stage introduces different challenges. Every season creates new opportunities for learning. The most effective individuals maintain a student mindset regardless of their achievements. They remain curious, they continue refining skills. They stay open to feedback. They understand that success is not a reason to stop growing. Success often creates new responsibilities that require additional development. This perspective keeps the mind active and prevents complacency. It encourages ongoing progress rather than temporary effort. Continuous improvement becomes part of identity rather than a short-term project. Ownership also strengthens resilience during setbacks. When difficulties occur, people who avoid responsibility often feel powerless. They view challenges as proof that progress is impossible. Individuals who embrace ownership respond differently. They see setbacks as information. They examine what can be learned. They adjust their approach and continue moving forward. This does not mean they enjoy failure. It means they refuse to allow failure to define them. Every experience becomes an opportunity for learning. Every obstacle becomes a chance to develop stronger skills, better judgment, or greater patience. As time passes, these lessons accumulate. Knowledge increases, capability expands, confidence deepens, not because life becomes easier, but because the person becomes stronger. Continuous improvement transforms challenges into opportunities for development. One day, you may look back and realize how much has changed. You may think differently than you once did. You may handle situations with greater wisdom. You may possess skills that once seemed impossible to develop. You may face difficulties with more confidence and composure. These changes rarely happen through a single dramatic event. They emerge through hundreds of small decisions made consistently over time. The future is not created in one moment. It is built gradually through daily choices. Every action contributes something. Every habit influences direction. Every decision shapes identity. Ownership means recognizing this reality and responding intentionally. You cannot rewrite yesterday, but you can influence tomorrow. You cannot control every circumstance, but you can control how you prepare, how you learn, and how you grow. You cannot guarantee outcomes, but you can strengthen the person responsible for pursuing them. Take ownership of your future by taking ownership of today. Improve one skill, correct one mistake, learn one lesson, strengthen one habit, make one better decision. Repeat this process consistently, and over time you will create something powerful. You will create a life guided not by chance, excuses, or circumstances, but by deliberate growth and personal responsibility. That is the true power of continuous improvement. It transforms hope into action, intention into progress, and potential into reality. It places your future back into your own hands, where it has always belonged. Chapter 10. Commit to lifelong growth regardless of career circumstances. Many people unconsciously tie their identity to their career situation. When work is going well, they feel confident and stable. When work becomes uncertain, they feel lost and unsettled. When a promotion arrives, they feel valuable. When a setback occurs, they feel diminished. This emotional dependence on external circumstances creates instability because careers are always subject to change. Companies restructure, industries evolve, roles disappear, new technologies reshape entire fields. Nothing in the professional world remains fixed for long. A life built only around career conditions becomes vulnerable because it depends on factors that are never fully controlled by the individual. Even the most skilled professionals experience shifts they did not anticipate. This is why lifelong growth matters. When personal development becomes a constant priority, your sense of identity no longer depends entirely on your job situation. You become someone who continues evolving regardless of external conditions. Commitment to lifelong growth means recognizing that learning does not end when you become employed, promoted, or experienced. It continues through every stage of life. It is not limited to a phase. It is not reserved for early career development. It is not something you do only when you have extra time. It is a continuous approach to living that remains active even during uncertainty. Many individuals mistakenly believe growth is only necessary when circumstances demand it. They wait until they face difficulties before they begin improving themselves. They wait until a job is at risk before learning new skills. They wait until opportunities disappear before becoming serious about development. This reactive mindset creates unnecessary pressure because growth becomes urgent only after problems appear. A more stable approach is to make growth a permanent habit rather than a temporary response. A person committed to lifelong growth understands that every stage of life offers opportunities for improvement. A stable job can be used to deepen skills. A challenging job can be used to build resilience. A transitional period can be used to explore new directions. Even uncertain circumstances can become opportunities for learning. The key difference lies in perspective. One person sees circumstances as limitations. Another sees them as material for development. The Stoic tradition emphasized this kind of thinking. It encouraged individuals to focus on inner development rather than external instability. External conditions were viewed as unpredictable, but personal virtue, discipline, and learning were seen as fully within control. This mindset does not deny reality. It simply refuses to allow external uncertainty to stop internal progress. Career circumstances will inevitably change throughout life. Some periods will feel stable and predictable. Others will feel uncertain or transitional. There may be moments of advancement followed by moments of adjustment. There may be times of clarity followed by times of confusion. These fluctuations are normal parts of a professional journey. Relying on stability alone for personal identity creates unnecessary emotional stress. Lifelong growth provides something more reliable because it continues regardless of external direction. When growth becomes a constant practice, your career no longer defines your limits. Instead, it becomes one environment among many where development can occur. You stop thinking of yourself as someone whose growth depends on a specific job. You begin to see yourself as a person who learns, adapts, and improves in every situation. This shift in identity creates long-term resilience. One of the most powerful effects of lifelong growth is adaptability. The modern world changes quickly. Skills that are valuable today may evolve tomorrow. Entire industries transform within a few years. New tools and technologies reshape how work is done. Individuals who remain committed to learning are better equipped to navigate these shifts. They are not shocked by change because they are already accustomed to development. They do not panic when circumstances shift because their identity is not tied to a single fixed role. Lifelong growth also strengthens confidence in a deeper way. So confidence often depends on external validation or job success. Deeper confidence comes from knowing you are capable of learning whatever is required. It comes from trusting your ability to adjust, acquire new skills, and handle unfamiliar situations. This type of confidence remains stable even when external conditions fluctuate. Many people fear career uncertainty because they associate it with loss of identity. They believe that without a specific job title, they lose direction. Lifelong growth removes that fear because identity is no longer dependent on a single position. Instead, identity is grounded in the ability to continue developing. Even if circumstances change, the capacity to grow remains. There is also a practical benefit to maintaining continuous development. Skills compound over time. Knowledge builds upon knowledge. Experience strengthens judgment. Learning accumulates gradually, creating long-term advantages that are not always immediately visible. A person who consistently invests in growth becomes more capable year after year, regardless of job changes or external disruptions. This compounding effect means that even small daily efforts eventually produce significant transformation. Reading regularly, practicing skills, reflecting on experiences, and staying curious all contribute to long-term improvement. These actions may seem simple in isolation, But over time, they create a strong foundation of capability that supports every stage of life. Lifelong growth also improves decision-making. As individuals learn more, they begin to see patterns more clearly. They understand consequences more deeply. They evaluate opportunities with greater awareness. This leads to better choices in both professional and personal life. Decisions become less reactive and more intentional. Instead of responding impulsively to circumstances, individuals begin to respond thoughtfully based on accumulated understanding. Another important aspect of lifelong growth is humility. A commitment to continuous learning requires acknowledging that there is always more to understand. No matter how experienced or skilled a person becomes, new knowledge remains available. This humility prevents stagnation. It keeps the mind open. It encourages curiosity instead of complacency. Many individuals slow their growth after reaching a certain level of comfort in their careers. They begin to rely heavily on past experience. They repeat familiar routines. They avoid new challenges. Over time, this leads to gradual stagnation. Lifelong growth prevents this decline by maintaining a mindset of curiosity and improvement regardless of success level. It is also important to recognize that growth is not always linear. There will be periods of rapid learning and periods of slower progress. There will be moments of clarity and moments of confusion. There will be phases of confidence and phases of uncertainty. These variations are natural. The key is consistency. Lifelong growth does not require constant acceleration. It requires ongoing commitment. One of the most effective ways to maintain this commitment is to integrate learning into daily life, rather than treating it as a separate activity. Growth can happen through reading, observation, reflection, practice, and conversation. It does not require ideal conditions. It requires intention. Even small moments of learning, repeated consistently, create meaningful change over time. Another important element of lifelong growth is the willingness to adapt identity without resistance. Many people hold tightly to outdated versions of themselves. They define themselves based on past roles or previous achievements. This can create resistance when change becomes necessary. Lifelong growth encourages flexibility in identity. It allows individuals to evolve without feeling like they are losing themselves. When you commit to continuous development, you accept that who you are today is not the final version. You remain open to becoming more capable, more aware, and more skilled over time. This perspective creates freedom because it removes the pressure of having to be permanently defined by current circumstances. Career circumstances will continue to change throughout life. That is a certainty. The question is not whether change will happen, but how you will respond to it. Individuals who tie their entire identity to their job often experience instability when change arrives. Individuals who commit to lifelong growth remain steady because their foundation is internal. This approach does not reduce ambition. Instead, it strengthens it. A person committed to lifelong growth becomes more capable of pursuing meaningful goals because their skills and mindset continue improving. Opportunities become easier to recognize and more manageable to pursue. Growth expands possibility rather than limiting it. There is also a deeper sense of fulfillment that comes from continuous improvement. Progress itself becomes rewarding. Learning becomes satisfying. Development becomes meaningful. The focus shifts from external validation to internal expansion. Instead of waiting for career outcomes to provide meaning, individuals find meaning in the process of becoming more capable. At the end of life, people rarely regret learning too much or growing too consistently. More often, regret comes from stagnation, missed opportunities, and unfulfilled potential. Lifelong growth helps reduce that regret by ensuring that development continues regardless of external conditions. A meaningful life is not defined solely by job titles, salaries, or professional achievements. It is defined by the person you become through continuous effort and learning. When you commit to lifelong growth, you create a path that remains open even when career circumstances shift. You remain adaptable, capable, and resilient in every phase of life. The most powerful realization is that growth is always available. It does not depend on permission. It does not depend on perfect conditions. It depends on choice. Each day offers the opportunity to learn something new, improve a skill, or refine a habit. When this choice is made consistently, it shapes not only your career but your entire life. Lifelong growth is not a destination. It is a direction. It is the decision to keep evolving regardless of external circumstances. It is the understanding that while careers may change, your capacity to grow does not. And in that truth lies lasting strength, stability, and purpose.